Hi, and welcome back to Inspired Alchemy with Lizzie. This is episode 52. And today, I just want to discuss shifting and changing. And I know that we talked about play last time, but I want to take you through a couple of things that I realized this week and how seasons play into things. And as we know, there's a season for everything. And as we shift into fall and trees start to lose their leaves and things start to hibernate and go dormant, seeing the beauty in all of that and allowing yourself to shift along with it. What are you wanting to release right now? But where are you also finding the beauty in all of it? So there, on Wednesday, I went in for a polyvagal session, but we did something very different. I knew that I had sitting in a space in my body, an emotion, and it was brought up last week during one of my sessions. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is something I'm going to need to process. And I kind of knew exactly what was sitting there. But every time that I would feel it, it would ping me. And I'm stubborn. If you know me, you know I'm stubborn about certain things. Yeah. And so I was like, this emotion has been sitting here for years in plain sight. It was hidden, but not hidden. And it's a part of me that was still keeping me very small. And I was allowing to control things. And I didn't even realize it. And while my practitioner is talking to me about this emotion, I'm sitting here going, yeah, like this is what I do for a living with clients. And how did I miss it? So I'm trying not to be hard on myself about that, because no matter how long you've been in the game, no matter how long you've been doing these things will still hide from you. So just be gentle with yourself when you figure those things out. But it was a very beautiful, somatic release. And afterwards, I felt he's like, okay, there's going to feel like there's an emptiness there. And while it felt like emptiness, it didn't feel like a bad empty. It felt like a good empty. And he reminded me of this, and I'm going to remind you, just like I reminded one of my clients this week, is that when you release emotion, you do not need to fill the space right away. Allow it to sit there. Allow yourself to sit in that. And like I was told, that space will fill itself with whatever it needs to be filled with. We don't need to keep doing. We don't need to keep pushing for filling ourselves. We can allow that space to sit. We need space, and I've talked about this before. We need space and capacity, especially if we're moving into a new version of ourselves or we're moving into a new season of life. We need that space to be able to do that. When our cup becomes too full and we're constantly trying to do, and we're not resting and we're not integrating and we're hiding different pieces within us, it's very difficult to fill yourself with the things that are aligned for you. And so I had that. And then I was sitting in this space of deep gratitude. And the next day, I woke up with emotions and a lot of things that I had to shift through. And I got a reel from my dad. And it was about how you have the choice every day to wake up and be different and to do something different and to be different in any way that you want. And it felt very different for me when I heard this reel, even though it was things that I had heard before and things that I practiced. My dad is a man of very few words. And when he sends me things like that, I listen. And when he tells me things, I listen. especially when it comes to energetics and emotions and things like that, because he just kind of lets me be most of the time. So when he says something to me, I'm like, oh, okay, what do I need to look at here? And so I told him, Dad, I'm trying really hard. I'm doing what I can in each day. And again, my dad, being a man of very few words, told me, you're trying harder than most people I know. Pretty much I always have been. And he goes, and this is where it got me, and I actually lost it crying. He said, everything will align. And I was like, oh my goodness, with everything that I'm feeling and the emotions that I released last night and the conversations that I had that morning with a client and all of that stuff, I was like, all right, let's just release it all. Lay it all down, let it all go. And then that night, I had my first session with a new client who is also a friend. And it was like working in a different capacity. And so it was kind of really cool and interesting. And I helped him move through some things. And this morning I woke up and I just felt the shift and I felt peace. And so I was like, I need to go outside. I have made friends in the past with the blue jays and the birds that come into my backyard. I have not seen them in a while, and I have not used my backyard in a while because it's been really hot. And today I just felt like I needed to. And so I went outside, and the breeze that was blowing was just perfect. Like South Florida, you don't feel that until about now, maybe sometimes. And when I feel the cool breeze, and I'm not talking, this is not chilly breeze, this is not cold, just a coolness in the breeze. And if you live in Florida or you live somewhere subtropical, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Because I live south. I live in South Florida. I'm not even central or northern Florida. So I felt it, and I got my peptides that I drink every morning, and I sat there and I listened to the wind blowing in the trees, and I watched the squirrels, and I made friends with the blue jays again. One finally came down, and I think it's a new generation. I had made friends, and I've been feeding the blue jays for many years. And because I wasn't back there, I think they moved trees. And so I finally got one to come down and talk to me. And I gave him peanuts. And I was like, yeah, this is a good shift. And I was listening to classic rock from the 70s. And I was just existing in the moment. And I listened to each thing that my body asked me to do. And so, as Florida is, the sun was shining, but then a cloud came by and dropped some rain. I'm like, do I need to stand in that? And yes, I did. So as soon as I did that, the cloud was gone. And then I was like, okay, I feel like I need to put my heart to the ground. So I laid on the grass and I grounded myself and I allowed the earth to tell me what it needed to tell me. And as hippie as that sounds, this is part of what I used to do all of the time, and I stopped. It was a part of me that needed to be connected. And when we're not connected to the earth, we feel disconnect between ourselves, between our fellow humans, between our kids, our relationships, all of it. And so I just laid there and I connected and I watched the little bugs crawl through the grass, and I listened to all of the birds and realizing that there is a season for everything. And when I went through, so I have my friend, her name is Amy, and she used to run something called the Peaceful Period Project, and she would talk about inner seasons. So women have the inner seasons of fall, winter, spring, and summer. It's just how it is. And as our bodies move into these different seasons, things change and they shift, and we need different things. And it's the same thing in life. We need different things as this season shift. And when fall comes along, that is my time, even though, like I said, I live in Florida. It's when I feel the most alive, when fall and winter come around. And it's beautiful. And so, as the leaves drop, and they do, the leaves were dropping here this morning, and it was, I don't know, it was just so magical. Maybe I'm in a hippie mood this morning. I mean, the 70s. I'm not sure, but I'm feeling very peaceful at the moment. And so I want to try to put that energy out into the world as everything shifts, as seasons shift. I'll tell you about something else that happened while I was out there. So I'm sitting there and I kept staring at this thing that was in my yard. And I'm like, what is that? And I just had my grass cut. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's like a pile of dead grass, whatever. So something tells me to get up and just walk the yard. And I walk the yard barefoot and I'm looking around and all of a sudden I see this pine cone. My grass was just cut. There's no reason why this pine cone should be there. Not this kind of pine cone, anyways. I don't have pine trees. Maybe a couple blocks away, but their pine cones don't really look like this because they're like a tropical kind of pine cone. And the pine cone was closed except for one of its, I don't know what it's called, but one little piece was open. And as soon as I picked it up, I felt an energy shift. And I don't know how to explain it. Like my head kind of just got kind of heavy. And to anyone who's listening to this and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so woo woo. I mean, it really is. And it's just part of who I am. And I feel the energy of everything. It's what I do. So I pick up this pine cone and I'm like, is this something that I need to keep? Because there's no reason why it should be in my yard. And I got a yes. And I'm like, do I need to bring it inside? And I got a yes. Okay, well, where does it want to sit? Right now it's sitting by my front door, along with a corn doll, or corn husk doll that I bought. She's really pretty. She's black and purple. And it was just such a magical morning. And it's kind of what I want to convey here, is that the change in seasons and the shifts in energy can be magical. There are so many things around us that we take for granted and we don't see as magical because we're running around doing all kinds of things. We're not allowing ourselves to notice even the small things, like a leaf falling from a tree, or a squirrel running, or a bird squawking. We don't allow ourselves to notice that because we're too busy with life. But if you slow down, just like autumn or fall is asking you to do, if you just slow down and notice these things, it can change your whole perspective of life, of what's going on around you, of the world in general. As we shift, as we change, as we grow, as seasons change, I know that some people will get sad during this time, and I think that it's important to acknowledge that. While I see the magic in it, some people might have memories that hurt, and I know it's easier said than done, but I have done it myself, so I can say that it is possible. And those moments that feel hard, you can do the hard thing. You can do the difficult thing. Forge new memories, even if that means you have to do it alone. Find peace with being with yourself and love yourself enough to take yourself out on dates and know that you're worthy of that. We have to love ourselves before we can properly understand a lot of things. And the more I love myself, the more I invest in me. And I'm not just talking about with money. I'm talking about with time, with energy, with vulnerability, with space, with rest. Every time I invest in me, things shift and change. And it's beautiful. Maybe you don't go forge new memories alone. Maybe you make new friends. And that's what this life is all about. Yeah. I know it can be scary at times, and I went through this as well. As we're shifting, changing, growing, seasons changing, allowing yourself to feel joy, to feel happiness. Because if you were raised in a house or had a childhood or even any part of your life where you were just waiting for the next shoe to drop and for the next thing to happen, happiness and joy can feel daunting, scary, unsafe even. And being happy can feel unsafe. And the way we get through that is by allowing ourselves to do the things and show ourselves in consistency that being happy and doing things that bring you joy and investing in yourself, they are all things that will help you shift your perspectives and your mindset. I'm not saying that alchemy is easy, because it's not. It can be brutal, but at the same time, it's beautiful, and you can hold that. And the more you see the beauty, the easier, I say that in quotation marks, things become. And we can shift through the seasons easier, with more ease, and a little bit more quickly. What would have taken maybe months to kind of acknowledge and heal from or to process might only take you a day. Maybe you'll get down to an hour, and maybe you'll get down to a couple of minutes, to where things start to shift faster. And I think that's all I have for you today. I know this one seems and feels a little different, but I want to thank you for being here with me. I do not take your time lightly. Time is a precious resource we can't get back. And even if this is helping one person, I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy you're with me. Thank you for everything. Thank you for the support. And I want to remind you, you are not broken. And as the seasons shift and change, you might be feeling that a little bit more. If you suffer from things like seasonal depression or holidays coming up, society wants you to feel broken and divided and alone. And you are not broken. We are not divided, and you are never alone. Every step you take, no matter how small, is inspired perpetual alchemy. Create, love, shift. The seasons are changing, and so are we. Until next time, keep creating alchemy. You are an alchemist if you are here. Keep going.